Do you know what? I almost had an intro ready for today, but I didn't have time to sort it out, so I didn't bother.
Okay.
It was almost there, but I didn't have time to flesh it out, and it's frankly pitiful.
Okay.
Hello again, everybody. We're back with Twin Humanities. My name is Paddy, friend.
I am CJ.
Hurrah! And we are once again talking about. Well, we're not really talking about Dark Souls again yet. Kind of.
We did say that with PlayStation Plus bringing Demon Souls to the Americas and now to the Blighty and across Europe, that we'd have a wander back into Demon Souls, and I have beautiful memories of Demon Souls from importing it initially from America, and Christ, the amount of versions of this that I've got. But to leap straight in, the game is still a flat out classic, an absolute classic. Whilst the I think your graphics snobs might go, "Oh my god, the graphics!" The design work is astonishing. I think the way that it plays with light and dark is something that Dark Souls 2 is reminding me of in a huge way. And it's just a pleasure to play. I think the fighting, it seems a bit more weighty, and when you commit to something, you are committed to that move. And I still think it's phenomenal, and I go back and forth as to which I love more, Demons or Dark.
I know what you mean, especially about the weight thing. Because I jumped back in again, and I sort of started fresh and just piled on through. It's slightly heavier.
At least
how
at
I feel.
First.
Yeah, I think it feels slightly slower, slightly more measured. I don't want to say arcadey, but Dark Souls, the combat feels a bit more arcadey.
Yeah,
compared
that's
to
how
this.
I've always kind of described it, really.
You nip around a bit fast. Well, I say nip around a bit faster because I'm kind of spec'd for going around faster. But it seems like you can sort of hit and move around and be. Whereas in Demons, you make your strike and you are committed to your strike. And if you cocked it up, it's your own damn fault.
I think there's an interesting thing that when I started Demon Souls, I was shocked at how nippy it was. And I think that I'm trolling around as we speak now. We're back on the beautiful 1-1, which is an absolute pleasure to play. It really is a pleasure to play. But I think Dark Souls starts you off nippy, and then if you start armoring up, you become heavier and heavier, and start fat rolling and that kind of stuff. Whereas Demon Souls seems to do the opposite, that it starts you off quite lumbering and quite almost kind of, I don't know how to put it. The more that you buff up, it's almost as if you kind of work out a bit and become more lithe.
I know what you mean. Actually, it's as you level up and as you kind of toughen up, I think you learn how to make the most of your moves as well.
Yeah.
Like in the start, you're just kind of lumbering around, holding your shield up, and you've not really learned how to move properly yet. I think once you've got a handle on what the enemies are doing, I think 4-1 is a really good example of this, which is the Shrine of Storms with the silver skeletons that attack you. When you first fight them, a lot of people, you'll hide behind your shield and they'll roll towards you and they'll sort of just ting off your shield and you'll sort of stand there and just sort of poke them. But once you had a bit of, experience fighting them, you see them coming and you can just move out of the way and just get in right behind them and take them out, toot sweet, which is what I was doing. Letting them go straight past me and go right up the arse, done. And I think as you get more used to how the combat sort of feels and the weight of it and the kind of speed and the rhythm, you do get better at moving around. And I've noticed since I went back and started again from the beginning, I got all the way to the Tower Knight and beyond without dying a single time.
Oh, fabulous.
I was, apart from the one at the very, very beginning where you're supposed to die, which I still can't even get a single hit in on that guy before I die, but I'm okay with that. That's fine. I'm supposed to die there. It's cool. But but yeah, moving through the Boletarian Palace and up to the Tower Knight, I didn't die a single time, and I was amazed because I remember particularly the second level there with the Bridge of Dragon.
Oh man.
Yeah, and the dogs underneath and stuff. And I remember nightmares from that. I spent so long getting past that. And the two blue-eyed phantoms as well that live right near the end, near the boss door. Like,
yeah.
I'd get past those in the past and just run up to them and then immediately die.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was terrible. I couldn't deal with them. I didn't know how to fight them. And I'd only got through them really by, fluke. Whereas this time I could, pace them out and back up. And fighting the Black Knights, the Saurons in Dark Souls, I think is good training for this as well. Because you learn to sort of watch their moves, wait for them to commit, and then sort of to use a fighting game term, to punish their mistake.
But I think that within those regards, that you go to somewhere like 4-2 and you take on the gold skeletons. Oof. And as I mean, to sort of digress a little bit, when you first get to 4-1, which I'd say is the natural place to go after you've completed 1-1, there's this wonderful disconnect of oh my god, these things are crashing into me, and they're hammering into me with swords, and they're dancing around everywhere, and a real degree of panic because you've not had an enemy that's been that's hit you with that kind of flourish before, and your adrenaline's going through the roof at this point. But then you go, oh my god, I've got 400 souls for that, and there's a point where you kind of get into the mindset of taking each one at a time, and then you get to those gold skeletons, and those gold skeletons barely give you an inch. There's one attack move, which is the sweeping attack.
Yeah.
The sweeping ahead sort of attack that they do, which leaves them open. But every other attack, you're not going to get near them. They're going to hold up that sword across the body like a shield, or they're going to swing around the middle, which you can't attack for. And it's only that point where they swing dead in front and throw all of their weight into that sword smack that you can get in there.
I think a lot of the difficulty of those guys is where they're put as well, because they're always put on like a thin...
Yeah.
Like, there's never any room to roll or to move. You've literally got to back up and back forwards and really try and sort of, pick your moment really carefully. Especially when they throw two at you as well.
Oh, yeah.
It's just stupid bloody game.
But to sort of throw a little bit of light on the history of the game for Paddy. Paddy played Demon Souls initially and didn't get on with it. And when I came on to Polygon on the Verge, I think it was.
Yeah.
When the forums were there, and I was jumping up and down about demons and dark, and you were lent the game, weren't you? And sort of really clicked with it at that point, and started.
Sean lent it to me as a joke more than anything.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was Sean that lent it to me. Because I had to say, I had played it before. I think I rented it from Love Film, and I just couldn't click with it. And then Sean lent it to me. This was the time we were making a lot of Polynaut play videos. Just us playing something stupid or something hard. And he lent it to me as a joke. And then something clicked, and it started making sense. Mm-hmm. I think getting through that Phalanx boss, I think I beat that boss in one go. And getting through that, I don't know what it was. Maybe that was the bit that made me think, I can do this now.
I think I think the game gets an unfair reputation as being this staggeringly hard game. And I just think it's the fact that it gave you a sense of accomplishment and a sense of challenge that games generally weren't really doing at that point.
There's a lot of... I know what you mean. There was a lot at that time of a lot of hand-holding.
Yeah.
A lot of quick-time events. A lot of hints, shall we say.
I mean, I've mentioned previously that I think these games are going to be amongst the most influential games from this generation on the next generation, and you can see that with Dark Souls already, with the likes of Destiny.
Yeah. Also, The Division as well seems to be doing that sort of crossover shared world stuff. That's looking great.
But I mean, when I first played this game, it just had a hold over me, and I couldn't put my finger on it. I was absolutely fascinated by it. I was terrified as much as I was fascinated. And when you progress through this and you progress through Dark Souls, obviously you know. I think part of it is knowing your environment and knowing what you're coming up against as well. Because when you do get a new level on any of the games, it's this huge sense of foreboding that I always liken to Tomb Raider 1, where you got the save crystals. And whenever you got into a new place on Tomb Raider 1, it was literally the slowest steps in the world, so you could see how your environment and its enemies react to you. Because you didn't know how far you'd be from the next save crystal, but you knew how far you come from the last one. And that was thrown out with Tomb Raider 2, because you could save anywhere. And Tomb Raider 2 was a great game, but something is lost when you can enter a new room, just hit save, and you can go on a bit further, just hit save.
Yeah, I don't know. I found the save. I found it quite oppressive when I played it, but then as 12-year-old me, playing Tomb Raider, I got very frustrated with it. I don't think I got past. I think I got past to level 5 maybe of the first Tomb Raider, and I just could not progress any further. I was getting lost, and I was getting killed. And there comes a point where you think, sod this, can't be bothered. And I don't think I ever went back to it.
Oh, that's a shame.
Yeah, I beat Tomb Raider 3, which was a bloody trial.
Yeah.
Just finding, obscure put key in hole. And it's like, we're going to hide the key on one side of the map and put the hole on the other side. Oh, brilliant, wonderful, great. But yeah, I don't know. Demons puts things out there more. It's right in front of you, rather than, go all the way down here, get the key, and then go all the way back again for no reason.
But after Demons, you then went on to Dark. And now this is sort of a little bit of a turnaround with you returning to Demons. So what are your thoughts after coming from Dark Souls? I mean, Dark Souls, I presume from our podcast, still has sort of quite the hold over you.
It still does, yeah. I still think I should be playing it at points of the day when I'm playing other stuff, and you think, maybe I should go play that. The thing that has really kind of hit home from going back to Demons is how good the Nexus is.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Like, it's
absolutely
not just that
beautiful.
It's not just that it looks great and it's got that atmosphere, it's got that cutscene when you go in and it kind of pans the camera up. It's well put, like, exactly where everything is, and it looks beautiful, and there's people hiding around the corners, and it's where all your shops live. Excuse me, and your stockpile and your repairing, and you can get to everything you need in the Nexus, and it's a home in the way that it's a home base in the way that I don't think Firelink is in Dark Souls. Firelink is your safe place, definitely, but it doesn't have that same kind of yes, I am completely safe here.
Yeah.
Feeling.
Well, then they kind of play with that anyway with the Nexus, don't they? They do. When things start going awry, shall we say? Yeah,
when you bring a certain person back and that certain person turns out to be a murdering bastard.
Absolutely.
Bloody I've not met him in this game yet. I've been avoiding that bit because I know when I have him, I'm going to have to go and immediately kill him, and I've got a strong feeling he will be way tougher than I am at that point. Because by the time I killed him last time, all my magic users were dead.
Well, there was something that because we played this last night, and there are little quirks like I love when you're in the Nexus and you're human, that the spells on the floor react to your feet, and those spells are actually sort of plastered all the way up the walls as well for reasons that become obvious the further you get into the game. But it was something you hadn't noticed, wasn't it?
Well, it was almost half right. In a way, I had noticed that sometimes my feet didn't go ping, poong, poong when I walked along the sigils. but I didn't know why. I was like, I'm sure they make noises sometimes. Then you run back and think, they made a noise. Did it make a noise last time? It must have done. Did it? No. And it confused the living crap out of me for ages. And then you were like, oh yeah, because you're not human. I was like, oh, and then it suddenly made sense.
Yeah, but it's also one of those things that I am devoid of tattoos. But if I ever had a tattoo, one of my tattoos would be the Maiden in Black and the Dust Our Seat Soul Power line, because I just think it's wonderful, and she's a glorious piece of design as well.
And speaking of the Maiden, actually discussing something you hadn't noticed as well, that we while we were playing Demons, you noticed on all the load screens. There's only one or two, I think the Blacksmith being the exception, where you can actually see the faces of the people.
Are you sure about that? Because
most of them have their faces either turned away, covered up. I think maybe Lord Rydell, you can see his face on. But, I mean, you've got Patches, who's turned away. You've got Yurt, who's got a helmet on. A lot of the other people, I think, what's his name? Skirver, the Wanderer, with the white gloves. He's got his hand in front of his face. Frake's got his hood down so you can't see. You can see parts of people's faces, but you can never see all of them.
I'll have to try and ascertain more on that.
Next time you see a load screen, you're going to notice it, and it's going to amaze you that you didn't see it before. Like, all of them have got their faces either obscured or covered or turned away, apart from maybe 2 or 3, let's say. The Blacksmith being one, I think Rydell being another one. But yeah, most of them either have helmets on or like Bjor of the Twin Fangs. He's kind of got his arm up in front of his head, so you can sort of see his face, but you can't really see properly.
If I had a child, that's what I would name it.
What, Bjor?
Bjor of the Twin Fangs.
Oh,
no kid is going to mess with another kid in the playground with a name like Bjor of the Twin Fangs. If only because, their dad might be even tougher.
Yeah. Because I suppose any dad that would name his kid that must be tough.
Absolutely, yeah. No, that was just the girl.
Yeah.
But yeah, we sat out into Demon Souls last night because we've both been testing the world, I guess, and having fun with it anew, and we thought we'd meet up in. Where was it? It was 4-2, wasn't it?
Second part of the Shrine of Storms, which was good because the first time we met up, we only brought up once when I played Demon Souls initially, and it was in the first part of that level in 4-1, in the very first part of Shrine of Storms, but we didn't Skype during it, so we were kind of just walking around, and I think you used the point gesture a few times. You were kind of leading me through the level.
I was trying to show you sort of through the level, because I always think
there's stuff here and there's stuff here, and I was going out and picking up the items, and you sort of see me pick the items up. But there was a point where at one point I stopped to reorganise my inventory, and I think you thought I'd died.
Well, a lot of it was going into PS3 menus, wasn't it, and sort of trying to send messages and all over the place.
It was hold on for 2 seconds, but yeah, having Skype on makes it so much easier to coordinate, I find. I know it's not really properly in the spirit of the game because you're supposed to be running around with people, but when it's your friend, I think it's okay.
Yeah.
I think if you could talk to random strangers, it would lose something. The fact that it does keep you quiet, in the same way that Journey does, actually, it doesn't let you talk to your friend. It only lets you kind of communicate with some, grunts and waves.
I actually think that will be a mechanic in Dark Souls too. That if it's somebody on your friends list, that I think it's going to let you talk to them. That
would be cool. Because we currently have to use, have 2 machines on whenever we play together anyway. Because we have to talk about it when we do it.
But we had a really good time. And when you mentioned let's go through 4-2, every single part of me just clenched. Because on my first playthrough, I found it such a terrifying experience because things were appearing behind, and you got the touch of death every now and again, and you got those invisible kind of shadow ninja things, and then the
storm beast giving you aggro outside as well.
The creatures with the massive arms, and then you get the variation with the huge sort of Cyclops X-Men like laser blast.
Oh Christ! That laser. Oh.
But I think it's once again it's a combination of enemy and environment, because when you're running down that area, it's a really thin floor that's in front of you, and it's one of the levels which introduces the concept of enemies coming behind you as well after you've killed them, because you've got those portals. So if you get rid of one and you've not taken out sort of the the main Reaper, they're going to appear in those portals and come from behind and sort of try and do you in as well. So
which did happen a couple of times, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I've forgotten how all these levels work, and I can't remember how to do half of this stuff anymore. So it's kind of relearning it fresh again.
It's written on my soul.
But yeah, I think you remarked while we were playing it was 4-2. Yeah, let's pick the worst level. Let's use the hardest level. Go on, why not?
It remains in my memory almost like a kind of a fable that I read as a child or something, because I could tell you where all of those enemies were coming from, and it feels like a story that I've read. You know, the journey of the young hero into the cave, and it terrifies me, that level, and the fact that we progressed into it so rapidly shows the bro up mechanic, I think, for what it is. That it is almost an easy mode.
Yeah, I mean, I tried to get through that on my own, which is why I suggested we do that one, because I was kind of stuck there and I wanted to push through. But God, I was spent maybe an hour and a half just on my own trying to get through it the sort of day before, and I was just running into the two gold skeletons were the bit where I'd fall down every time. Or the laser ghost.
You had got quite a lot of problems with them, didn't you? I'm down with those bitches.
Oh, the gold skeletons give me issues because I was trying to snipe them out, but then the storm beast got aggro and was attacking me from the side, and I couldn't quite get a shot on him, and it was just failure after failure after failure. I think at one point I dropped 17,000 souls there and died on the way back, and I was a bit upset. I think again I've lost large amounts of souls in that level. Luckily I got I nearly lost another 20 odd when we were playing, didn't I? Because we died. And what actually, going off on a slight tangent, what is great and has been wonderful for our collective sanity is the dedicated servers for the soul signs.
Oh, well, this again points towards Dark Souls 2, and that dedicated servers are going to be back, because it was no faffing about, was it?
Yeah, literally. I actually saw your ghost, and it was definitely you. Walk around the corner, and the sign appeared. I was like, that is clearly that you just did that. Did you have a spear? Yes, that was you.
It was instantly, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was like, it's down, it's there. Welcome to my game. 30 seconds, you're in. Which meant that when we did cock up and die a couple of times in the level, we could just meet up again and carry on. Whereas some of the problems we've had with Dark Souls trying to meet up, we spent an hour once, didn't we, trying to connect together, and it just wouldn't have it.
Yeah, I think sometimes it was with Dark Souls, it was, can you see my sign? Right, wait a couple of minutes. Oh, then lay it down again. Oh,
I've seen it. Oh, it's gone now. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you can't find it. And then we kind of switch out and say, okay, I'll try and lay my sign down. And it works first time. And it's like, what? It was weird. So it's nice to be able to just connect up like that. And do you know, here's a question. Is it the same way as Dark Souls in that you can only meet up with someone of a similar-ish sort of level?
I honestly don't know.
Because we met up together. Cause I think it was complete fluke that we were like one level apart at the time, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think I was level 39. I'd started a new character anyway, and then at a certain point, I think I monkeyed straight into that one. But we were only about a level apart, weren't we?
It was very, very close, yeah, which was great. And even like when we beat the level, went back, tried again, leveled up and came back, we could still meet up within seconds, wasn't it? Which was fantastic. And yeah, I'd forgotten about things like the slugs down the bottom and the little white lights that explode. Good Lord, I crapped my pants with those white lights. I'd forgotten all about them. And then
there's a great one with the where my character and my camera was positioned, where one of those things hit you, and you were running towards me, and the explosion happened, and you literally went like, "Rah!" like jumping towards my camera.
Rolling out of the explosion like a madman.
No, it wasn't even rolling. You were blown towards me from the velocity of the blast, with like arms trailing behind you, legs, up in the air, legs trailing behind you, like a. Rah!
Oh bugger! The panics were had there. Panics were definitely had. And I've got to say, it was fun taking on the old hero again.
That's a magnificent boss,
It's one that I didn't remember very much of.
I think sometimes that people can always judge bosses of they're supposed to be some sort of energy sponge, and that it's just got to be tough stuff. But I think bosses can be a celebration as well. They can be you've gotten this far. And here's something massive. And old hero, he was a lot harder than I remembered him. Like,
yeah, same here.
When we sort of played last night, there was. I don't know if it was because there were two of us that were fighting him, but he had a lot more energy than I'd remembered. But he was magnificent to watch.
And he was a lot more. I found him way more aggressive than I remember as well.
Well, we mentioned that in previous podcasts, one of the things we loved about Calamite in Dark Souls was that he was so spontaneous,
unpredictable, and he could turn around and batter you without even telegraphing it, just going straight for it. Yeah. And I think the old hero has got a touch of this, non-telegraphy.
Well, he's got one move, hasn't he? That he does, which isn't obvious.
Yeah.
And he'll kind of turn around and do a massive jump, and you won't know that he's sort of coming until he's got on there. But it's pure spectacle as well.
Oh, totally. Yeah. I mean, the way that because he is blind and he just kind of goes for anything that he hears. And like
you thought he was Indian. I thought he was kind of a little bit Greek.
Yeah.
Because he looked like characters.
I think didn't we settle with Persian in the end?
Persian, yeah.
Yeah, he looks a bit like.
I think he's probably spot on, to be honest.
What's his face from 300? The tall guy.
I haven't seen it.
Xanadu, or I can't remember what his name was. Anyway, Xerxes. Thank you, Laura. Xerxes. Yeah, it's and then when you sort of see that, I think I can't unsee that now. Arrows will rain from the sky. We will fight in the shade. But yeah, fighting the old hero. It was. I don't remember it being that tough at all. Like I remember it being pretty simple.
Because you coasted it, didn't you?
Coasted it last time. Didn't even register as a blip. I just went straight through it. And this time was like, he really hates us. Why does he hate us so much? I shot an arrow at him from 20 yards away. He turned around and jumped right into my face. Why? And I think he was, I think we maybe came to the conclusion that might be wrong, that whoever's the human gets hated more.
Yeah, possibly.
Maybe, because I had way more problems when I was human, because we did the whole level twice. Once with me, once with you. And I was much freer to kind of shoot him and, do the same strategy I was doing before. But when I was a ghost in your game, it was just so much easier. He was leaving me alone. He was mainly going at you, wasn't he?
Yeah. Smart move, really.
Go
because
to the host.
Let's face it, the way that they've done being hollow and being human in this game is that you don't make a noise when you're a ghost. So old hero's not going to hear you.
Oh, it's pretty clever.
Unless you actually make a noise, and as a human you will be heard, because you've got the shing 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 or whatever it might be that as you go along. So
the clippity clop of your hoofs.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean. Fighting these bosses again. It's cool remembering how to beat them. Because the levels I did this week, I've gone through. I've been through the Phalanx and the Tower Knight. I also took on the Armor Spider, which gave me problems. I did Fool's Idol again in the Dungeon of Latria or whatever it was called. That area still freaks me out. Freaks me the hell out. I don't like it. The Cthulhu men just freak me out. I do not like it.
I've said before, but there's a ringtone on the iPhone which is the bell of the Octopus Men, and the point where a friend of mine got an iPhone and got a text on it, and I just heard this ting. It was like everything in my body just went.
Oh no! I could see that happening. Every time I heard a ting, I was like, oh crap. Oh, where is it? Has it seen me yet? Has it seen me? And a couple of times they were positioned in hilarious ways where I'd open the door and they would stand right there. Like, okay, he's right there. Move. Which didn't happen the first time I played. I generally had a good run at them every time, but yeah, because I was kind of barreling through it, faster. I was getting to areas quicker than I usually would. And yeah, which meant they were sort of positioned in the worst possible places almost every single time, which was great. It was fun. It was different. I also tried the Valley of Defilement again at a lower level than I initially tried it. Yeah, I think it's creepier than Blighttown.
I think that those people that go, oh, Blighttown, I've never been to the Valley of Defilement. Because,
the Valley's not a nice place.
Because with Blighttown, you've got the huge sort of hulking enemies that will come at you, and you've got the little ones that are incredibly vicious. But Valley of Defilement, I think, surrounds you en masse, which you don't get in Blighttown. I mean, there'll be a point where you drop through a roof and literally 9 enemies just stab the crap out of you. But mainly because of the way that the levels are set up, that everything almost looks skew-whiff and kind of out.
Like it's going to fall down when you walk.
Yeah, and everything's on sort of strange ramps, and everything seems makeshift, and at claustrophobic angles, and it hides vision from you a huge amount. But whereas Blighttown's at least got a little bit of a structure with its constant ladders, the Valley of Defilement will have that. It throws you off kilter visually, and then it does that incredible thing where there are enemies that look further away than they are.
Yeah.
And they're actually huge, and they're nearly upon you.
And I like that they look almost identical to the other ones. Like they're just a big version of that when you see them at a distance. Think, right,
That's
okay.
it.
And you think, right, okay, it's coming towards me. Oh, it's getting bigger. Oh, it's getting bigger. Oh, bloody Christ.
But when you see them, you do presume that they're just a little bit closer. But that build up, that degree of boom, boom, and you're like, what? You what? And
what have I got myself into? Oh, bugger.
They will. Once again, there's a mixture of enemy and environment with the fact that they're fucking huge, and they will try and do you in very, very small areas where either like on a rope bridge, or I'm thinking the first time you meet one of those, you go down a series of kind of slopes, and at the bottom there's loads of rats, or there's loads of enemies that are hiding in hay.
Yeah, rats.
It's just horrible. Yeah. And then I think one comes at you across a rope bridge towards there.
Oh God,
and
yeah.
He's just got no room to move at all, and he's got that massive club. And of course 5-2 then lets you say hello to them, but with a swamp to slow you down.
Yeah, well, you thought they were bad before. Now we're not going to let you move.
Yeah.
It's that delightful combination of it's a big guy in a small area.
It's a masterpiece of design. The whole game is wonderfully designed, and whilst I think that one of its shortcomings perhaps is that the world tendency is a little bit too hidden, I think.
Oh, it's completely obscure. Like, I still have no freaking clue how to make it white. Like, I've been trying, and I don't know how to do it better, because it seems so incredibly skewed against you.
Well, the Atlas used to do world tendency events, where...
like Halloween, that sort of thing.
Yeah, well, they even did... there was a Black World Tendency event on Valentine's Day, which was superb, whereby all the enemies were tougher but gave you more souls, and there was specific weapons that you could get on those days and stuff. And likewise, they'd advertise it for those people that were stuck on the game that there's going to be a white world tendency event, which is
Yeah.
going to make things a little bit easier and
Open up some shortcuts and
yeah, I
stuff.
really like that. I don't know if Bandai, Namco Bandai, really did the same sort of had the same sort of fun with it as Atlas did. But I really like those. And you also got it was a huge sort of clarion call for all those people that have put the game down to come back on it, because everybody pile in, you get loads of invasions, you get loads of team ups. And that was just great fun in itself. So
yeah, I mean, the thing that I've noticed actually about it with the world tendency is, so I know that it goes to black if you're human and you get killed, which it's that classic Demons-y Dark Souls thing of, oh, are you having problems? Oh, okay, right, we're gonna make it harder. Do you know why? Because F you. That's why. And like, getting it to go white, getting it away from black, like I've not been able to work out a way of doing it.
I think it's beating a boss.
I know it's beating a boss, and I think if you kill an invader, I think it helps too. But it's the chances of like you doing that first time round are not very good, I think.
Well, it's a mechanic that's not explained wonderfully well, and I don't think it would take a lot just to clarify that.
Yeah.
To make it a really valid mechanic for a future title, and I genuinely hope Sony come back to this, because wouldn't you just love to see the Maiden in Black sort of ask you if you seek soul power again? I get the shivers, like, hugely.
That would be a good teaser, maybe. Well, there's TGS coming. Imagine that screen goes black, and you just sort of hear "Soul of the Mind, key to life's ether." You're, what?
Oh well, imagine that they did a PS4 vid, and in this PS4 vid, you got a montage of all the games that were shown thus far, and then the screen just went black, and people were clapping, but they held like the dead air and the dead screen, and then people stopped, and it just said, "Dost thou seek soul power?" And then like PS4 comes up, people would explode into 1,000 million pieces.
I might actually burst if that happened.
Honestly, if that, we were saying about E3 in general that there wasn't really that one announcement that made you go, "Oh my god." There wasn't.
Yeah, I would agree. There wasn't a holy shit moment.
And that, I think that Demon Souls is now so beloved within an incredibly passionate fan base that not only would it make people just sit up and just scream from the rafters, but I actually think with the one of the upswings of having Dark Souls on 360 as well as PS3 would be, there'd be a huge portion of the fan base that would just go, "I'm getting a PS4."
Yeah,
because they'd want to play it, because more Souls is fantastic, and we've also got whatever game it is that Miyazaki's working on as well. So we've kind of got our cake and eat it as well. But if something like that were to happen, I just think it would just be utterly glorious. And it's been a long time since I've seen an announcement that's made me go, "Oh my god!" In that,
do you know
kind
what?
of way.
It's going to be really. It's going to out me as being a rubbish person. Do you know what? I think the last one that made me go, "Oh my god," and actually cheer was Saints Row 4.
Okay.
Because I really, really, really like Saints Row games. They're ridiculously fun. They're not very mature. They're not very grown up, and there's not a lot of substance there. But there's quite a lot of style and a lot of flash and a lot of fun. Stealing bikes, and this one is like, okay, so it's like Saints Row, but now you're the president and you also have superpowers. And it's like they've got a picture of my face, and they've gone, right, we're going to make a game for this guy. We're going to take what he wants and we're going to make that for him, and that's what they're doing. And like, thank you, Deep Silver and THQ or whatever company you are now, thank you.
Have you seen the Hey Ash, what you playing? With regards
I don't really like that show.
You know, I really,
they bug the crap out
I
of me.
really, really love it. But they were showing the fact that I think Anthony had sort of mentioned that it was one of his. Well, he wanted to vote for something for Game of the Year, and Ash was basically saying, like, you know, I've been playing like as a big fat black woman. How many games would let you play as a big fat black woman? And he's like, yeah, it's a really good video though. It's very, very funny but very poignant as well.
Poignant.
Yeah.
Ah. Okay. Now I've got another thing I want to talk about Demon Souls. And this is going back to our time with Dark, and I'm sure you know, we both like the bunny stick, the happy smacker. We both enjoy a bit of a spiky bit of wood.
The reinforced club.
Yeah, and I thought, okay, well let's have a go and let's see what the club's like in this game. It's pants.
I also did that.
Yeah,
I think there's because in most games, I mean, I know that Dark Souls is a spiritual sequel, if you will. But in most games, when there's a weapon that carries over to the next game, there'll be a degree of similarity to it. And I don't know if it was just one of those things where in Demon Souls that was the first mechanic that they thought of for the club, that, you know, you'd swing it almost like a baseball bat.
Yeah.
And then in Dark Souls, someone went, what if we did the jump and a smackdown? Because the R2 attack in Dark Souls is phenomenal, and it's a weapon that really only came to light quite some time after Dark Souls was released.
Because it's just a wooden stick. I mean, who would normally pick out the wooden stick when you've got battle axes and swords sitting there? Like, why would you unpick it? You know, it's one of those weapons that you look at and think, nah.
But for those people that did, they noticed that it was taking shields down. It was knocking shields out of sync.
It was a batterer.
You've got because Epic Namebro did a test of the best strength weapons in the game, and it is actually one of the best strength weapons in the game. In the way it scales, and so you've got one of the most powerful weapons available from the first merchant you meet.
For pretty cheap, actually, as well, considering.
Yeah, it's not expensive.
It's just it's a secret one, and it's hidden in a way that it's not. But yeah, the one in Demon Souls, it's just a stick. It's like a baseball bat, and you can't even upgrade it. I think, can you? I tried, and there's no. It wouldn't let me upgrade it at all, which was
really.
Yeah, it's just literally a bit of wood. But I did find a surrogate.
Okay.
And this occurred when I was going through Stonefang. And when I was going through Stonefang Tunnel, I was using a magic falchion at the time. In some sort of tribute to my Kellogg sword that I used quite a lot. I thought I'll use a scimitar again. I'll try one of these out. And it's got a similar sort of moveset. And I was doing it, and frankly, it was extremely slow going. Like, we're talking 7 or 8 hits to take down a single one of those sort of let's call them gnolls. In Stonefang, and I was getting a bit annoyed with it, and I thought, right, I need to try something else. What have I got? What have I picked up so far? And I looked through my inventory and I saw the pickaxe, and I thought, go on then, because I think the reinforced club is a secret weapon, and I thought, the pickaxe, maybe it's good, and immediately started cleaning house with it. And I was like, how did I not know this was this good? And I was running around and I was taking down guys in a couple of hits. I was like, Jesus Christ. And this is unupgraded. I'm like, I've got a good weapon again. And it's, again, a secret thing that you would normally think, no. And I kept that pickaxe for a very long time. And then what I did later is I decided to upgrade it to the sharp version, which was a mistake, because to upgrade the sharp weapons, you need Bladestone, which, frankly, you can't find anywhere. And I got bored. So instead I went and bought a war pick instead, which is exactly the same thing, has exactly the same stats, and has exactly the same animations. It's literally just a different skin for the same weapon, from what I can tell.
That's what you were using last night,
wasn't it? It was, yeah, the war pick. And again, it's got a stunning R2 button. Like, it's not... Initially, it just looks like a slash. But the second hit does so much more damage.
Part of that, though, is the noise that it makes on that R2 upward smash. It's phenomenal.
It's the power of mining. It's like, I'm going to hit you with the strength of industry. It's a good. I mean, the Articles hack, you hit it twice. So the first button does a kind of a normal kind of big hit, kind of oosh, and the second hit is like an upward slide. But like against the Silver Skeletons, it was taking them down in a single 2 hits of R2. I was like, bloody Christ! And it's got something like, again, it's got a certain mystique to it that I can't put it down now. And I've got weapons that are better, like the Crescent Falchion against other enemies that aren't, Stonefang Tunnel, is a better weapon. But I just want to use this pointy, sharp stick.
It was good last night. I enjoyed sort of seeing you use that. Plus, in the combination of I'd fallen into back into using the shield and the spear again because it's set and reliable.
It's effective.
Yes. But there was a good combination between drawing enemies out and taking a hit on the shield, and the other one sort of going in for a faster attack with a closer weapon.
Yeah. Yelling "FU" while it happened as well was just part of the fun.
Also, lots of songs.
Yes. I can't remember now.
There was what we hoped was War Picks, but wasn't. It was
Iron Man.
Yeah. And there was other stuff. I can't remember what else we were singing last night.
It was some weird stuff that I don't remember because maybe, yeah.
I was far too tired after work for any of it to be coherent.
There was quite a lot of...
But it was funny.
It was bleary, but it was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I think to summarise, it is, as you say, Demons going back now after having that time with Dark Souls. And going back to the Demons, they really are, like you say, they're more apples and oranges than people do give them credit for. That's very different games.
That's the fun of going back to them, because it's not just like you're going back to the Dark Souls that there was before. You're actually going back to a different game with a different feel, and the fact that it's free for PlayStation Plus owners. I really hope that Sony are at least monitoring what's going on with it, so they can go.
There's so many ghosts running around, lots playing it.
There are a lot of people. I haven't been invaded that many times.
I have,
although you had a smish of that last night, but
yeah.
But I'd quite like to invade a few people anyway. But I just think that if Sony did something with this, I just think it'd be such a wonderful thing. I'd be made up. I mean, obviously, as a Souls fan, it'd be great to see more of it. But
would it sell you on a Vita if it came to Vita?
It would.
You're so weak.
It's not even that. I'd support a Vita if it got Demon's Souls, and I know that. If I went up to see my dad and I was on the train, I could quite happily play Demon's Souls for like 3 hours on a train, no problem at all. And I just want Sony to see this game for what it is, to celebrate the mechanics that are there. And I did the article ages ago about what would happen if it was Demon's Souls 2 versus Dark Souls 2, and at that point we didn't have a Dark Souls 2.
No, there was nothing to work on there at that point.
And if Sony, I mean, they've got plenty of other teams that they could put on this, but if Sony brought somebody on, like, I don't know, just sort of clutching at straws, if they got somebody like Jeremiah Duera to work on the character designs, or they got in a good team. I just think competition is always a wonderful thing. And it'd be interesting to see what came out the other side. Obviously, they'd be looking to service a fan base that has certain demands on the difficulty, and I'd be interested to see what they do with it. But I just want Sony to appreciate it, and I think it's done decent numbers for them as well. I mean, they persisted with Resistance without great sales to back it up, and I know it has sold well. So, and with Yoshida saying that it's Yoshida, isn't it?
Yoshida, yes.
Yeah, saying it's one of his favorite games. In fact, he said it is his favourite game on PS3, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. He was the guy initially who didn't like it, and he's all over it now.
I think he was saying though that the point that he saw it hadn't quite come together at that point.
Yeah,
But it was still looking a bit jerky. I don't think they'd done the final polish on it. And if there's anything that From have been superb with these games, it's putting that polish on. I mean, with the stuff with Dark Souls, which became the extra content, it was things that they didn't have time to put into the main game for one, but it was Ulasil, Township, etc. weren't particularly working at that point. And they then went back to them and tried to get them to work. And the point that they did was when it became the extra content in the PC version and an extra something that was going to turn up on the console versions as DLC. But all credit to them. And let's face it, Dark Souls 2 just looks phenomenal. But
it looks fun.
Please, Sony, please do something. Please realise what you've got, and please realise that you've actually got a system seller in Demon's Souls too. So if they want to do it, they've got a system seller, and you will knock people's socks off.
See, here's what I hope for that. Actually, I think there's a bigger chance of that than we may think of. Just going by what Sony has said over the E3 week, like the amount of sort of investment and the amount of sort of outreach they give into like the indie developers, it strikes me as they're sort of they're becoming a company that want to give you all the games, and especially with Shuhei, who's become my favourite person in the world since E3. I really, really like him. He's a cool guy. Every word that's come out of his mouth has been good. I can see him going for it. I really can. Like I say, we've got TGS coming up soon, which is where this sort of thing, especially sort of more Japanese focused or developed games, make their stand. So
it's believed that the new Zelda's was held back from E3, and that's going to be shown off at TGS, and possibly the new Metroid as well. But so I just think that it would be one of the announcements which would set the internet on fire.
Yeah.
And if there's any point for Sony to do it, it would be now. Not only because the PS4 has built a lot of momentum and a lot of goodwill from the press conferences that were held at E3, but also if people have got PlayStation Plus, they've got a chance to try out the previous game.
Yeah, right now.
Yeah. So I would absolutely adore it if that came to pass, which is possibly a no-brainer because everybody knows how much I've been shouting about these games for a million years. But I just think I can imagine how a trailer would go down, and how all they need to do with that trailer is end it with the "Dost thou seek soul power." You could even if they did like a special edition PS4 or something, or even if that became sort of the tagline for the PS4, "Dost thou seek soul power?" is a phenomenal tagline for a machine.
It's a great. Yeah, I'd buy that.
Yeah,
I'd buy that machine on that line alone.
But honestly, you'd have people buying it. You'd have people that love Dark Souls that have become intensely passionate about it that would come over to play Demon's Souls 2. I severely believe that. So please, Sony, honestly, it turn me inside out. And I think that Sony need to build on their franchises a little bit, because Resistance has fallen away. Obviously, the developers is now sort of working with Microsoft more heavily.
Yeah, I think Sunset Overdrive is their unique, single platform thing, but they are working on other stuff as well, apparently.
But I mean, I think The Last of Us has obviously done incredibly well, but
it's done gangbusters.
I'm kind of wary of Sony doing that as a franchise.
I don't want it to be a franchise for reasons that I can't talk about, because I don't want it to spoil anything, but I don't think it can't be a franchise. No. Stop. It's brilliant. Leave it. Walk away.
I I think if they do any more Uncharted, Amy Henning had says that she's not going to be involved, and that's a big deal. So I think that they've got a franchise. You know, obviously they've lost versus 13 for multi-platform, and to me this is something that would sing. You have to get a Sony machine, and I don't think, for me personally, and I don't think there's anything else that covers that basis.
It hits your happy button.
Well, no, I mean, I don't think that Sony have got anything like this. That's not only as a game in of itself, but as something that would sell a machine flat out. That people would rally around, you know, almost in the same way as, say, Halo sells an Xbox,
or Metal Gear 4 sold PS3s.
Now Metal Gear 4 is new Metal Gear is multi-platform as well. But
it is.
I think it's something that would be uniquely specific. They're building on a bigger fan base than they had when the initial game started. And I even think that Dark Souls 2 can only, if they announce Demon Souls 2, the success of Dark Souls 2 could only be good for Demon Souls 2, because anybody that's buying that and enjoys it
will immediately want to go out and buy the next one.
Yeah, will want a little bit more as well.
Yeah, they want more, which is going to be great. Okay, right. Final thoughts on Demon Souls. Final thoughts.
I hope we're going to keep on playing it, because I absolutely love it. The world, the enemies, how meticulous some of those animations are. Like when the silver skeletons on 4-1 drop off the bridge, and how they actually fall onto the backside and pick themselves up, actually sort of lift themselves up to a sitting position, and then push themselves back up push down on their knees and stand up again. It's wonderful. I genuinely think it's a masterpiece, and I go back and forth with Demons and Dark as to which is the best of the series. And there's things that I love uniquely about them both. And obviously there's connections between the two as well. But I think the games that everybody should play, and not be put off by the accusations that the game's incredibly hard, because it's not.
They just challenge it, and if we can do it, you can do it too.
Genuinely, I am not the greatest games player in the world, but I think if there's anything that these games give you the chance to do, it's to genuinely role play, and take on the problems in whatever way you want to do, however way you want to level up, however long it takes you to do it. And Lord knows, it took me the longest time in certain areas to get beyond. But if you enjoy the world that you're in and you're determined to get there, you will flourish. You'll absolutely flourish.
Yes.
and thine own thoughts?
Thine own thoughts. I have the same problem. I don't know which one I prefer. The problem I have in thinking which game I prefer, Demon's Souls feels like it's more for me, whereas Dark Souls seems to be more for other people. That's a weird thing to say.
Yeah, I think it is a little bit more niche because of the platform still, and because it is still more of a secret, whereas more people kind of got into Dark.
I think so. Yeah, it's nice. The Demons kind of feels like you're playing it for you. It's like, yeah, this is a game they made for me. Whereas Dark Souls feels more like an attempt to kind of get more people to play it. But which is fine. I mean, yeah, brilliant. Get more people playing it.
I think it's more accessible. But I know this is probably not what you mean, but I think you're doing Dark a disservice if you're thinking that it's kind of a more commercial game. Because it's maybe a little bit more accessible, but as we've said, you've got the problem with Demons that it holds a lot of mechanics back, and even Dark does that to a degree. So,
but I think Dark's world building is better.
Yeah,
I prefer, simply because The only problem I have with Demons is that while the Nexus is beautiful, and while the areas are all cool and unique, they don't feel like they're joined together. They feel like 5 completely separate places that have nothing to do with each other. And I know they kind of are 5 separate places that have nothing really to do with each other, but it feels more like you're walking around in a proper world in Dark. It's like you are experiencing a place, a proper place, whereas in Demons you're going to places with vast areas in between them that you're never going to see.
I always get the vibe with Demons that that I think the world that you traverse through the Archstones is of a greater distance, that these are essentially like continents that are away from one another. And
it's
that's
alluded
why
to that in the opening things, the title. It's alluded that they are far away from each other.
Yeah. And also there's 6 of them and we only saw 5, which gives them the
Land of the Giants is the broken one, I think, isn't it?
Yeah. But I don't know. I get the feeling with Demon Souls that whilst Dark has got this rich lore and it's accessible within the item descriptions and the story comes together, I get the feeling with Demons with how sparse the story is, that it's almost like you've come to a world which is more or less almost forgotten, even by the people that are there. That there are characters that remain, but even the reasons behind the world ending have become so convoluted, and it even mentions that you're one of numerous heroes that's tried to do this. So it could well be a winding continual spiral downwards of people turning up and completely failing. So I think that's almost a wonderful mysticism that the game's got, that it almost feels like you're walking in tombs, that you're walking in places that are just forgotten, and that's quite sinister and chilling as much as it is genuinely exciting.
Yeah, you're walking in the abandoned hallways of man.
Yeah, and the stories of these places are more or less forgotten because the people are long since gone. The heroes have arrived and have died, and I find that fascinating too, because it just makes the world whereas you've got the rich storytelling of the lore in Dark Souls, it almost makes the world in Demon Souls this beautiful, glistening, bristling enigma. And
I would agree.
That.
Yeah, it's definitely there's more space between the gaps.
Yeah,
is how I think of it. There is more space between the gaps to work out what's really happening, and I like that.
But then you compare the two games, and it's like, oh, do I like cake or do I like pie? They're both delicious, but they're completely different from one another. And I think that's what inspires people to finish Dark, then play Demons again, and then play
Go back and play Dark again.
Yeah,
which will probably happen.
Because you're never done with these games.
No, I think once we're finished, I think once moving back to Dark Souls, I've got the fiery place to do, the name of which completely escapes me now. Izalith, there we go. See, it's been 3 weeks since I've played this damn thing. But once I've got my Izalith out of the way, I think I might even go back and play some more Demon Souls.
Yeah,
because frankly, I want to be here again with a new guy.
I've enjoyed doing this again, like playing Demon Souls, but we've even spoken previously about going back to when we were doing the Iron Man runs.
Yes,
and about going back to restart Dark Souls, and it's a game that's just wonderful to restart. You kind of go, oh yeah, and then you'll get up against enemies and you think, that was stupid. I never should have died there.
I made a big mistake. Yeah, you always die to the stupidest thing. You find yourself
up against enemies that later on in the game you've laughed at more than anything, and then you go, oh my god, that's a bit tougher than I am now. And there's a constant feeling of, I don't know, of it redefining how vulnerable you are in the world when it takes you back to point zero.
Especially playing it on, like you say, like the Iron Man mode, it does show you how, like you say, how lethal the world really is, and how much attention you need to be paying all the time.
Yeah,
because the second you forget what you're playing, it will turn around and batter you in the face.
But I've played, I finished my initial run on Dark, more or less the same way that I played Demons, that I just armored up to the nines and didn't jump about a lot, and just tried to take things that way.
Take the hit on the shield and move on.
But in Dark, I think because you've got so many varieties of upgrades to the weapons, and I've still not really explored the Covenants to their fullest, and there are so many different builds that you can do that you keep on finding new ways to enjoy it. And I'd like to say that I've even redefined the way that I played it, and I've perfected it. But that I still consider that my first run through of the game was the most perfect, because I didn't know what I was doing. And when I got into a new area, most of the time it was like, right, I'm going to hunker down here, because I formed like a little battle plan, which might have been to level up a character. It might have been to because I was terrified of leaving this area and wanted to go somewhere near to buy something that was powerful, that I thought would kick me on, and that was really special in of itself. So yeah.
I think your first run is always the one you remember. It's always on, because it's the one where you made the mistakes and where you kind of go into the unknown. Whereas I think when you go back again later, it's like you've read the book. Okay, right, I know what's going to happen. Right, let's crack on.
Yeah,
it's not. A lot of the surprise is gone. There's a few moments you'll forget, but generally you've got a good idea of what to expect. Whereas that first time you go through, you'll turn a corner and, oh my god, a laser ghost! What am I supposed to do?
There's that wonderful sort of phrase that's often been applied, which is, I'll never play it for the first time again. And that's entirely true. But we've got Dark Souls to look forward to, and I hope with Sony dropping a few hints here and there that they may well, especially if Shida's got anything to do with it, they may well have a few irons in the fire.
Can't wait. Love that to be a thing. Cannot wait.
Imagine if that's maybe something that's that the team behind sort of Ico and stuff have been working on.
Oh god, don't.
As well as like the Last Guardian, because they'd be a perfect fit for this.
They would be, actually, thinking about it. They've got I've been playing a bit of Shadow of the Colossus again recently, and yeah, tasty stuff. Oh man, don't even. No, we're gonna have to call that there, because my brain's just gone off on a spiral. And if we don't stop soon, I'm not gonna have dinner.
You're just going to eat yourself alive otherwise.
Yes, but yeah, no, that was this was episode something. I can't keep track anymore. What's our episode called?
Oh man, we had some great. Because one of the songs we were one of the songs that we were singing last night was Love Cats by The Cure. And I can't think within what context it was. I think it was Podcats was one of them.
Podcats.
But I don't know. I'll think about it, because I'm sure we had something far better than that.
We'll come up with a good title, maybe involving the War Pick. We'll work something out.
Yeah, War Picks might be.
Now more War Picks have the power. That's Banner. Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, my name was Paddy.
I'm CJ.
Thank you all for listening. Next week, back to Dark Souls after a 3-week hiatus.
Yeah. And there's going to be an offcuts thing, hopefully following this, and which is going to be the games that we've been playing otherwise. And also, I'm going to be giving my unpopular opinion about Man of Steel, but also rationalising it.
Ooh, I can't wait.
Rah.
Cool. Thank you all for listening, and we'll see you all soon.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.